3 months before anyone called 911, Hayden published a book about exactly this. She called it a reckoning. She wrote about addiction, about postpartum depression, about the years she says she lost. And then on the 16th of August she was found unresponsive in a South Carolina apartment, and she was 36. Here's what has actually been confirmed. What has only been reported. And why the official answer to the question everyone is asking does not exist yet, and will not for weeks. The address was Judson Mill Lofts on Easley Bridge Road in Greenville, South Carolina. Police say first responders were called there at 1:58 in the afternoon. They found her in cardiac arrest, and paramedics began advanced life support. She was pronounced at 2:31. Officers found 2 men at the apartment. Brian Hickerson, who is 37, and his brother Zach. Both had called 911 after finding her unresponsive. Police said the initial investigation found no signs of foul play, and no suspicious circumstances. The Greenville County coroner is Mike Ellis. His office completed the autopsy on Monday morning, the day after. It found no visible injuries. No trauma that would have contributed. And then the sentence that most of the coverage skipped past: the cause and the manner are pending further testing. That means toxicology. Toxicology takes weeks, sometimes months. So as of right now, nobody outside that office knows what happened. Any claim to the contrary is unsupported by the coroner's findings. Run the week back, and the shape of it matters. Sunday the 16th, the call and the announcement that evening. Monday the 17th, the autopsy is done, and the coroner says no injuries, no trauma cause pending. Also Monday, the first wave of coverage, most of it obituary, some of it already speculating. Tuesday, Klitschko posts. Wednesday, her body is released to a mortuary. And somewhere in all of that, the 911 audio comes out and the speculation stops being polite. 4 days. In 4 days, a question that will take a laboratory several weeks to answer had already been answered, confidently and in public, by people with no access to the evidence. In May, 3 months before, she published This Is Me, A Reckoning. It is not a celebrity memoir in the usual sense. She wrote about being a child on set, and about what that did to her. She told The Hollywood Reporter, "I was groomed. I was like a little soldier, and I always have been. No was never an option." She wrote about becoming addicted to Klonopin and to alcohol after her daughter was born. She called the moments that broke her sense of self life quakes. She wrote it, she said, to understand how early fame had distorted what she thought love and approval were. You only read the headlines from the memoir, you would think it was a book about addiction. It is not quite. It is a book about what happens to a person who is put to work at 4 years old and rewarded, for 20 years, for being agreeable. She used the word groom, and she meant it about the industry, not about one person. Here are your scenes, here is your dialogue, hit your marks, do what the director says. No was never an option. That is her phrase. Everything else in her life, the drinking and the pills and the relationships she has described as damaging, she frames as downstream of that. Whether you accept that framing or not, it is her framing, and she published it under her own name 3 months before any of this. She was born in Palisades, New York on the 21st of August, 1989. She was working on a soap opera at 4 years old, One Life to Live, playing Sarah Roberts. Then Guiding Light for another 4 years. By 9 she was the voice of Princess Dot in A Bug's Life. At 11 she was Cheryl Yost in Remember the Titans, the coach's small daughter who knew more about football than the grown men around her, and for a certain generation that is still the first thing they picture. Read that list again and notice what is missing from it. There is no year in there where she was not working. She had a career before she had a childhood, and that is not a detail. That is what the book she published in May is about. Then in 2006 came the part that made her famous everywhere at once. Claire Bennett, the cheerleader who could not be hurt on NBC's Heroes. Save the cheerleader, save the world. That line was on billboards, on posters, on the side of buses. The first season was a genuine phenomenon, the kind of show people arranged their evenings around, before that stopped being a thing anyone did. It ran for 4 seasons. The later ones were not loved the way the first one was, and that is its own kind of pressure, being famous for something that people have started to talk about in the past tense. She was 17 when it started, and 21 when it ended, which is the entire back half of growing up spent as the most recognizable teenager on American television. 6 years later she did something almost nobody expected. Nashville on ABC. She played Juliette Barnes, a country star built out of ambition and damage in roughly equal measure, and, this is the part people forget, she sang it herself. Not dubbed, not sweetened beyond recognition. She had never trained as a singer. 4 seasons on ABC, and 2 more on CMT after the cancellation. She was nominated for a Golden Globe twice. Ask anyone who worked with her and they will tell you Juliette is the best thing she ever did, and if you only know her as the cheerleader, that is the one to go back for. In between there was Scream 4 in 2011, where she played Kirby Reed, a part the fans of that franchise refused to let go of, to the point that they campaigned for years to get her back. It worked. She returned for Scream VI in 2023. And for about 15 years she was a voice in the Kingdom Hearts games, playing Kairi in Laerxian, which means there is an entire audience who knew her voice for half their lives without ever once seeing her face. Bring It On, All or Nothing. Ice Princess. Ally McBeal's final season at 12. The list is longer than the 2 shows everyone names. Her daughter Kaya was born in December 2014. Her father is Vladimir Klitschko, the heavyweight champion. They were together, on and off, for most of a decade. And what followed is the part she spent the rest of her life talking about openly. Postpartum depression, which she went public about in 2015 at a time when very few actors did. Then alcohol. Then Klonopin. She went to a treatment center in 2015. She relapsed. She went back in 2020 for 8 months. In October 2015 she did something that was, at the time, close to unheard of. She left a network television show mid-season and let everyone know exactly why. Her representative said she was getting treatment for postpartum depression. She was not vague about it, and she did not call it exhaustion, which was the industry's usual word for this. 10 months after that she went back for a second stay. Remember what year this is. This is before it was normal for an actor to say any of this out loud, and she said it while the show was still airing and while she still had to go back to work with those people afterwards. This is the part of her life she found hardest to talk about, and she talked about it anyway. In 2018, while she was in treatment, custody of her daughter went to Vladimir Klitschko. Kaya went to live with her father in Ukraine. Panettiere's account, given years later, is that she understood it as temporary, a visit to her father while she got well, and then found herself signing papers that made it permanent. She said the way it happened caught her off guard. And then she said the thing that is harder to hear, that by the time she was healthy, Kaya had a whole life over there, friends in school and routines, and that pulling her out of it would have been selfish. So she left it. She stayed in her daughter's life without being the one raising her. There is a part of this that is not gossip because it went through a court. She was in a relationship with Brian Hickerson from around 2018. He was arrested in 2019. In 2020, when he was sentenced to 45 days in jail over an assault on her. She wrote about that relationship in the book this year. He is the same man who, along with his brother, called 911 on the 16th of August. His lawyer has said only that the investigation should be allowed to proceed. 3 years ago, she lost her younger brother. JANSEN. Panettiere was an actor too. He was 28. The family said afterwards that he had an enlarged heart, a problem with the aortic valve. She talked about it in interviews for a long time afterwards, and she was not composed about it, and she did not pretend to be. 2 Panettieres, both actors, both gone to 440. That is the sentence a lot of people wrote this week, and it is true, and it is also worth saying that the two are not medically the same thing. Vladimir Klitschko posted first. He said their family was going through a time of profound shock and grief, that the announcement saddened him deeply, and that she left this world far too soon. And then he said something directed at their daughter, that he would always speak of her mother with respect and make sure Kaya remembers the person she was. Connie Britton, who carried Nashville alongside her for 6 seasons, posted a run of photographs in one line. This was Hayden. Bursting with brilliance, shining so bright. Dreamcast posted. So did people she had not worked with in 15 years. So here is the separation, which is the whole reason to sit through a video like this one. Confirmed, she was found unresponsive on the 16th. Confirmed, the autopsy found no injuries and no trauma. Confirmed, police found no signs of foul play. Reported, the 911 audio in which responders can be heard discussing what they thought they were dealing with. And not established at all, the cause. That is pending toxicology, and toxicology is weeks away at best. The single thing worth watching for is the coroner's final report. Not a headline, not a source close to the family. The office of Mike Ellis in Greenville County saying a cause and a manner. Everything before that is people filling a gap. Her body was released to a mortuary on the Wednesday. Her father's statement called her an incredible light and a force of nature, and said she brought joy to the millions who watched her. And the book is still there in her own voice, saying most of it before anyone had to ask.